Today's panel discussion is on the topic of data automation and risk assessment. And I'm joined here with eminent panelists from the industry. I think, Siddharth, you're from the consulting side, right? So you can bring in that perspective of from the technology side. We have got 2 technology people and 2 business people. It's like a 50-50 mix that you can get. And I'll start by this. When you look at insurance business, right, and you look at differentiating from the other companies, what are the areas that you can really differentiate upon? Like, for example, you bring out a new product, it gets copied in no time. You can create a new app, it gets copied in no time, right? Processes can get copied. Anything that is visible to the eye can easily be copied, right, in today's world. So how do you differentiate? And as people say, the data and the way you play with data, the way you leverage data, and that is under the hood. And whoever does that well would probably be emerging as a winner. Right? And this is where companies can really differentiate. Looking at the areas of where all this is getting implemented, right from through the entire life cycle of a product, right from underwriting, product creation to your claims adjudication, to renewal efficacy, even sales efficiencies, all through you have to see how you can leverage that data. And data is foundational even for machine learning, which is foundational for artificial intelligence, right? So we are basing that as a premise for this discussion. And just to give you some numbers, Devashish mentioned that India is, and in fact world over, we are a highly underpenetrated industry, right? And McKinsey says that almost $350 to $500 billion worth of value can be extracted from this industry by usage of data. And 80-90% of the insurance do believe that data is pivotal for growth and differentiation, right? On that note, let me begin with where do we stand, right? And if you want to do AI, if you want to do machine learning, if you want to do decisioning across the value chain, the data has to be right, data has to be there. Right? So my first question, and I think I can start with you, Siddharth, from a consulting angle and then come to Shashi. Data automation and engineering, right, is pivotal and it's foundational. So what are the areas of improvement? Or maybe, Shashi, you can basically touch base on the pain areas that you face from a business point of view in terms of the readiness of the data and the data engineering practices and how you want to consume the data. Starting with you, Siddharth.
Thank you for that. I think any form of differentiation to the point that you mentioned earlier, right? Great customer experience, great automation, great product design, great actuarial assumptions going into your pricing. It is all contingent on data. Your ability to underwrite effectively and fast is contingent on data. So I think there is fair consensus, and I'm sure everybody here would agree that having the right data and being able to provision it and make it available as needed is going to be critical for any insurance company to be successful. Now, maybe just zooming out, right? If we talk about insurance penetration in India, which is currently fairly low, depending on how you slice and dice it, about 4% of GDP, give or take. If the aspiration is to increase that, and if the aspiration is to actually have insurance for all by 2047, it is almost critical that we start underwriting risk that is currently not covered. And that could be both on the commercial side or on the non-life side, as well as on the life side. Now, the reality is that great risk, to a great degree, has already been underwritten, right? If you look at large enterprises, corporates, all of their marine or etc. Engineering investments have been underwritten, or they have some form of coverage for it. If you take a look at classic salaried employees in India, the perfect retail risk as we would articulate them, they're also broadly underwritten between group and individual policies across health and life. So the ability to get to that next stage requires you to really underwrite the next set of population, both in terms of MSMEs as well as in terms of individuals, which could be which could mean going to tier 2, tier 3 markets, going to, new to credit, new to financial services customers who've traditionally not had access to many of these products or services. And so data becomes increasingly important in being able to effectively and profitably underwrite that risk. The reason I bring this up is because as we think about automation, as we think about provisioning, as we think about data pipelining, there are 3 or 4 elements that come in. First is the ability to aggregate the right kind of data. So you would have a lot of historical data that resides in various systems within insurance companies, but very often it tends to be siloed. I mean, if you take life insurance, for example, while a lot of modernization has happened, we still see that many organizations tend to be policy-centric as against customer-centric, right? If you have a group policy and a retail policy, very often you're not able to link the 2 together, or you're not able to, identify that's the same customer. And reinsurers need you to assess at risk, value at risk for each individual. So all of those things become challenging if you don't have the right data available in the right format.
So data availability and ability to integrate it all together and bring it at a place is one of the things that you...
Absolutely. So building those data pipeline, building that common data platform, ubiquitous, customer 360, agent 360 becomes important. Then the second part is to make it available. So you might then have all of that data, but if you're running real-time analytics, if you're trying to, someone spoke about the digital marketing spend and how do you actually convert that funnel from every hit that comes onto the website, how do you actually provision that data and make it accessible and build use cases around it, right? So that if there's a customer who is in the middle of a journey, how do you actually, make sure that they don't drop off from the journey, or if they do drop off from the journey, how do you make sure that you take them to a logical conclusion? So provisioning becomes the next most important.
Access and provisioning.
Access and provisioning, and then all the other use cases that fall on top of it.
So Shashi.
Yes, before I start speaking on data automation and AI and all those things, I think let me remind you about some of the realities, which I think everybody knows. Even Mr. Debashish spoke about all those things in his slides. Like, in terms of population, I think India has become the most populous country in the world. But in terms of premium, I think we are at number 10 overall. I think in terms of general insurance, we are at 15th rank. I think Mr. Debashish showed that. In terms of life, we are a little better at 7th rank. Now we are having so many recent examples of Chennai floods, Gujarat floods, you are a cyclone in Odisha, so many. And huge protection gap is there. I think more than 90% protection gap is always there in all these cyclones. I think India is having the highest protection gap in the world, if I'm right. And then third point is, not only protection gap, we talk about out-of-pocket expenses in health insurance. It's more than 50%. Again, is an issue. 54% of the vehicles are uninsured. It is mandatory to take an insurance, but nobody is taking it. 54% of the vehicles are uninsured. Penetration is only 0.32% in motor insurance. Property, 90% of the houses are not insured. Again, penetration is 0.032% in property line of business. So these are the pain areas. That is why we all are here and talking about data automation, and IRD is talking about insurance for all by 2047. They've given an objective to every insurance company, every intermediary, that they have to achieve this goal by 2047. There's an issue of affordability. Everybody knows that. So how data can help in achieving that goal and solving the problem of your... Now, if we talk about insurance industry, I think this is one of the industry wherein data is used in everywhere. You talk about underwriting, you talk about claims, you talk about actuarial calculations, data is getting used. It is the most intensive industry you can say, wherein the data is very important. Okay. So, and in the last few years, after COVID, I think industry has got a huge improvement in terms of usage of data. We have seen those improvement. But still, the perception still is that people feel that insurance companies don't pay claims. This is the perception. And moment of truth is claim only, but still there is a perception that insurance company don't pay claim. Now we are having an example of your COVID, wherein I think, if I am not wrong, I think more than 1 lakh worth of claims has been paid by the health insurance company. Insurance industry is into underwriting losses. Last year, I think more than 30,000 crore worth was underwriting losses. That was there because of insurance company has paid the claim to the general public. But still perception is there. How that perception can be changed? through data automation, through your advancement of technology. Now, first of all, like onboarding has to be very good. Now, the onboarding is if you talk about the pain areas in insurance industry, the onboarding has to be good. Now, there are many products in general insurance wherein talk about getting physical proposal forms. When the claim comes, we talk about so many questions from the customers. Those questions has to be asked at the time of underwriting only. There are many different data sources which now insurance companies have started using. Internal data sources, external data sources. Historical data, every insurance company is using. But from now, in the recent past, I have seen company using external data sources. They have started using IAB, data from IAB. They have started using data from Vahan. You can auto-populate the data from the Vahan. They have started getting your data from the CIBIL also. So the improvement has come in the market, but still there are few areas wherein the improvement is required. This is what.
So if I have to ask Meraj, if I have to put a needle, okay, and on one side is the artificial intelligence or the machine intelligence, on the other side is the human intelligence. Currently, where do you see this needle? And do you see that this needle is moving in the next 18 to 20 months, 24 months towards the machine side of it, or you say that it's still distant?
Hello everyone. See, I don't think that in next 12 to 18 months it is going to move towards AI, but yes, it is important because data collection, data processing, developing a pattern, and finally delivering something which is useful to the customers. Because I am actually presenting here the perspective of the customer finally.
Yeah.
So it is important that human intervention is important because it is not that only the system will generate something and it will be useful finally for the customers.
Yeah.
Some expertise which is experienced from the last many years should be kept in. But yes, over the period of time, not only 12 to 18 months, but it will take some more time, and this will be tending towards to AI or machine learning, and it will definitely help to the customer as a whole.
So Siddharth, we heard from both Syed and from Shashi that the business demand on technology and what the current state of the data and the data infrastructure is, right? In the readiness factor in terms of external data that Shashi mentioned, saying that IIB data is there, there are CIBIL and various other things. As a technologist, how do you see fulfilling these gaps that are existing in the data architecture so that business can literally move this needle faster? So today what we see is that the needle is moving slow, right? We are doing claims adjudication with limited data that is there. We are doing automated underwriting, but automated underwriting has really not replaced the underwriter. Neither has the claims adjudication, algorithms replaced the adjudicator. They're basically giving indicators. They're giving some, red, amber, green flags and things like that. So what is it that we should be doing as technologists, right? And from a practitioner perspective, what are the challenges that you see in this domain so that we can enable the business to actually have faith and belief in the data that they're getting?
I'll try and answer this question from 2 points of view.
Yeah.
First is, as we look at technology modernization at large, right? Business cases for big ticket technology and data modernization exercises continue to be very difficult to realize purely on a mathematical basis.
Yeah.
Right? Especially when you're looking at the average policy size being fairly small, you're looking at ticket sizes being small, and very often you're looking at technology which is cloud-based and it's growing exponentially, right? So the one thing we need to look at is as we build business cases for technology and data modernization programs, a lot of it has to be about not just the financial case for it, but the entire employee experience, customer experience, reconciliation challenges, things of that sort that we often overlook, right? So I think there's a big component of that overall narrative that needs to be baked in. More importantly, if we are to leapfrog in terms of penetration, in terms of growth. This is increasingly becoming bare minimum, because it's only when you make these investments will the incremental sale, the cost of incremental sale come down for you significantly. Right? So I think from that standpoint, it's important. From the supply standpoint, I think there are two major challenges. One is in terms of just adoption and business value realization. Even today, we see many instances where platforms get rolled out or data programs get rolled out, but the adoption and the efficacy of those continue to remain average, right? So I think that usage and being able to really wear the transformative lens when you're doing any kind of major modernization exercise becomes important. Sometimes while going through these transformation programs, just given the duration of it, a lot of steam or momentum gets lost, and it merely becomes a system replacement, right? So you've fixed some of the current pain points. You've not solved or looked forward to saying what are we solving for the next 5-6 years.
Most of the things happen in the patchwork side rather than a more strategic investment for a long term?
We've seen that play out in multiple instances where the transformation quotient kind of goes down, or things have moved so quickly that you're barely catching up.
So the urgent versus important.
Yes.
Where the urgent takes precedence over the important. Important is for the future and urgent is for now.
Absolutely, absolutely. That being said, I think increasingly, even as a lot of platforms and system integrators and the like think about modernization programs, the whole agile way of working is pushing the needle on how do you actually drive business value realization faster, sooner, quicker. And that becomes another critical component as you think about the overall success of a program of this sort.
So coming to the business side of it, how do you see from an investment point of view into these technologies, right? So one is that most of the insurance companies that we speak of and we go are still grappling with the issues of the core, the process automation, the digital front end and stuff like that. So as a business owner, where do you see the investments pouring into the data and the AI side of things and risk assessment through data?
Okay. Let me give you a few examples on that, how the insurance company get return on investment out of that data. So I'll give you one example. In my company where I work, we got one big claim of about 40 million of TP claims, and we were very sure that we will be paying that claim because everything was in line. FIR was on time, accident took place in Jaipur, car was there, witness was there, everything was in place. And we thought we have to pay that claim, worth 4 crore rupees. But suddenly, our advocate come up with the data of FASTag, wherein he proved that the vehicle, at the time of accident, the vehicle was not in Jaipur, it was in Delhi only. Okay. And we were about to save 40 million rupees. Maybe in one single case, have saved you 4 crore rupees. So this is a return when you start using data.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there are so many such examples wherein because of that data, like if we talk about Shriram, we have given them your intermediaries, they use our mobile applications. We have put certain validations in those mobile applications. They can see their claim ratios, your state-wise, even there are certain digital factors we generally don't think about. Like those people who purchase insurance in the evening, they have a less claim ratio as compared to those who purchase in the morning.
So that's an insight that came out of that.
This is what the data shows. Why? Maybe they work in technology firm, they are into BPO, they ply their vehicle in the night, wherein the chances of having accident is less. So whenever you go and drill down the data, you will find many things. Women are better driver than males. Why? Because if we talk about Shriram, yes, this is right. Yes, and this is what the data proves actually. What is the logic behind that? Because you won't see women driving frequently plying their vehicle on the highways. They mostly ply their vehicle in the cities only. The chances of getting TP claims are very less if the women are having a vehicles. And the TP component is 60-70% of the premium. So when you go and drill down the data, you will find so many innovative things.
So do you also give, on a lighter note, do you also give discounts to women?
Yeah, sure. This is one of the factors which we have put in the mobile application. Once we get that data from the Vahan side and the insured name is with the women, you get extra discount.
So you know where to buy
Yes.
the next policy from. Yeah.
And I'll give you one more example. How data can be very effective for the insurance company. Like now, Mr. Debashish was talking about UBI, usage-based insurance, telematics-based. No doubt there is a challenge in purchasing those telematic devices because there is a cost involved in that telematic device. An insurance company have to bear that cost. And the cost is worth 3,000, 4,000 rupees per device. And the average OD premium should be around 10,000, 12,000 if you are into old vehicle segment. Now, how to work with UBI? Then we did a pilot with one of the vendor in telematic device. And we started putting those devices in those areas wherein we were having a huge theft frequency, like Delhi NCR and metro cities. And we, profit sharing model, we did a profit sharing model with that vendor. And we were able to save 2 big cars which got theft and later on we recovered because of the telematic device. This is return.
So all of that ROI.
Yes, it is ROI only.
All of this is ROI and real business benefit of using data.
Yes,
and,
yes.
You know, the underlying power of the data from a business perspective, and it is actually hitting your bottom line.
Yes, right? Yes.
Meraj, from a broker's perspective, how do you see that coming? And you can also share some of the things that you were mentioning prior to this session of how you are using data and in your life cycle of how you are handling the customers.
See, as broker, we are actually providing services to the customers.
Yeah.
And the customers who are actually buying policies. So it is very important that the customer should understand what kind of policy they should buy. So for that, we are collecting data from the very beginning. We have started, a CRM where we are collecting data from the level that the name of the customer to the type of services what they are giving and finally what kind of supply chain they are operating.
And you have a larger challenge because you work with multiple insurance companies across multiple product lines.
That
right?
is the
so
point.
Every
actually.
product line is different.
That is the biggest challenge to us because any insurance company will work for its own product. Here we have to understand, collect the data from different insurers and create a pattern so that we can say that this particular add-on, this particular policy is important to this particular client.
So it's almost like matchmaking, right?
Yes, like matchmaking, yes.
So on one hand you have the customer, on the other hand you have the insurer and the product, you are kind of trying to create a match.
It becomes very difficult sometimes because you have to collect a lot of data. And that data should be synchronized in a way that it should give us a result that is ultimately to be very useful to the customer at the time of the claim. And this satisfaction, creating this satisfaction is very difficult. This can only be possible by investing in data management,
So data and risk assessment at the moment of truth of actually selling the policy, right?
No, that is the moment of truth is finally the claim settlement, right? So if we are providing,
so that is the book quality that you're talking.
That is the book quality. And what is very important that generally in fire insurance, what we see that a particular type of occupancy which is being rejected or being seems to be very difficult to accept. But if we go with these data analytics and everything, sometimes it becomes so easy to accept, and the pricing can also be reduced for that reasons.
So how much of that risk assessment that you're doing at the time of quotation is done manual, and how much of that can move towards machine learning, data and artificial intelligence?
See, this is a process where we have to start with the manual and giving the patterns to the system, and then it keep on learning and then providing the data and then providing the patterns. So it is like you can understand that we have or anybody can have the historical data, anybody can have the experiences in the claims. The question is putting data in the system is very difficult, and managing that in a manner that it should give a right response and a very reasonable response. And you cannot be justified to a customer who is having very small turnover and a person who is having very big turnover. So perspective in both the turnovers are entirely different. So this here data analytics and AI can give you a very good response.
So having said that, the potential of the data analytics and AI is definitely recognized by every one of us, right?
Yes.
But then, Siddharth, it comes with a certain bias, right? When you train a system, the system can make wrong decisions. This is like garbage in equal to garbage out, right? So how do companies manage this balance between innovation and futuristic outlook versus the inherent bias that the system can throw out, and which kind of acts as an impediment to the adoption that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
That adoption is a key thing, right? So how do you see this balancing out between innovation and bias?
So it's interesting because the fundamentals of the insurance industry is to manage risk.
Yeah.
Here we are managing the risk of bias creeping into our data, right?
Absolutely.
So I think we have there is no silver bullet answer to it. I think there's a spectrum where multiple organizations are trying their best to kind of ensure that that they are able to minimize any bias that creeps into the data. So I'll give you an example. We recently worked with an organization on the topic of claims fraud, and I think that came up. And so we looked at the data sets, and we realized that we didn't feel that the data set was adequately representative of all scenarios. Yeah. So incidentally, we used Gen AI to generate synthetic data to actually strengthen the claims models, the fraud models. And then we were able to, at least in the proof of concept that we did, we saw the model's efficacy go up significantly, and now that's in the process of industrialization, right? So, and this is a classic example of using innovation or being innovative, and at the same time trying to manage risk or trying to manage bias in the data. So I think that healthy tension will exist. I don't think there's an easy answer to it, but I think most organizations are looking at different ways of trying to solve for it. And again, this was just one example that came to mind from recent experience.
And data capture, like you mentioned earlier, data capture still remains a challenge. With that, so one hand, data analytics and data-based models for machine learning and AI requires a lot of data to come in and study, right? Collecting the data, one of the impediments is the data privacy laws. So again, that's another area of consideration, be it the regulatory framework of how you handle the customer's data, the new privacy bill, as well as the responsibility that we hold of safeguarding the data, at the same time using it responsibly. What are your thoughts around that? All three of you can take a dig at that.
Like, you were talking about data privacy.
Data
okay.
privacy,
Now there is
regulatory.
I think DP Act is there.
Yeah.
Okay, and a huge penalty is there. It is not only the insurance company, it is the intermediary only who will also get penalized if there is a breach in that. Okay. Now, whenever you, like there is one system which recently IRD has come up with, it is a use and file system. Why I am talking about that, there is a perspective behind that. Because IRDA, and whenever you file an innovative product with IRDA, you have to give a specific parameters in giving discounts. Maybe if the customer has not claimed last year, you will be giving 20% extra discount. And so parameter has to be there. Now when we talk about the innovation, which you have asked in your earlier question, and in your pre-underwritten product, bite-sized product, OTC kind of product, you are getting the behavior of the customer and giving them discount. Now the customer is not aware about on what basis he has got this kind of premium, because some customers are getting 80% discount, some of the customers are even getting loaded on their premium, but they are not aware about on what parameters. So now when we talk about the data privacy and all those things, whenever we are capturing all those things, customer behavior, and whenever we are charging premium according to that behavior, it has to be documented. It has to be properly documented. Whenever we are issuing a policy to the customer, you have to mention that on what basis you have got a discount. Whether it is a behavioral discount, whether it is because of your CIBIL was good, that is why you have got a discount. And I don't know whether I am right or not, and DP Act says that if you have used the data once for one particular purpose, you cannot use the same data for cross-selling purpose. You have to get
But that is
again
the
the
contra,
same,
counterintuitive to what the whole premise of data enrichment and usage is, right? So
that challenge is there.
Yeah.
That is the biggest challenge,
okay.
which is.
Siddharth, your final views.
Yeah, the consent architecture, to the point that you're making, is super important, right?
Yeah.
Somebody has submitted an application, generated a quote, figured out maybe if I change 2 attributes and then resubmit, I might get a different quote.
Correct.
Getting third-party data, and you've used it in the past to issue a policy. How do you reuse it? So I think building that entire consent architecture and having a logical, to the point that you made, documenting over a period of time what you use, how you use, why you use, has become super important. I think on the flip side, DPDP is also an opportunity, not just for insurance companies, but industry at large as well. Just given, if we view it purely from the sense of risk management, the likelihood is you're putting in more and more controls, which is fair. But I think we also need to look, how do we actually then use third-party data differently, right? So if we are saying that browser cookies in the future are not going to be as easily usable in building customer personas, then what is the alternate to it? And organizations that are able to crack the code on that early are probably going to get a leg up, especially in the digital ways of working and how customers are doing price discovery online and things of that sort.
So yes, so thank you, panel, for I think we have run out of time. I would summarize it like this. We have got lots of car manufacturers who are getting into EV, right? The thing that differentiates Tesla versus all the others is you can probably make a better electric vehicle than Tesla, but Tesla will have an upper hand because they have collected so much of data for their autonomous driving, right? And the power of what Tesla holds is basically because of the data, and I hope that insurance companies are able to leverage, collect and leverage the power of data into their processes. Thank you gentlemen for wonderful insights.
Well, thank you for such an amazing insights, and I think I'm seeing a lot of audience out here, and I think we can take 1 or 2 questions probably.
Yeah.
Anybody would like to come forward for anything, we have such a fabulous discussion. I'm sure something might, you all have in your mind to add upon or something to ask upon, or have we answered all the questions? Is it like that? Anyone? Anything? So you like anything? No? And nobody? Okay.
Yeah, we have one.
We have, okay. Can we pass on the mic there, please? I'll also request you to please, we have the mic, and request you to please name yourself and which company
Hello.
are you from, and then introduce the question.
Hello sir, I'm Rahul from Tata AIG.
Wow.
Hello sir.
Hi.
So,
Hello Rahul, how are you doing?
Good.
Fabulous, yeah, please.
So my question is to Shashi sir. Sir was talking about the customer behavior, like where the customer mindset is like, insurance company doesn't pay the claims, they don't pay the claims or will not pay the claims, right? How can we educate the customer by using data at the time of policy buying, like simplify the policy wording or some? See, I had experience while purchasing a health policy. See, I am not a medical practitioner, so I would not come to know what are the terms, what are the medical terms which are involved or incorporated under policy documents. How can we use the data to educate basically and simplify the journey of policy buying?
I'll give you the example. I'll give you one motor example and one health example. Like in motor insurance, recently insurance company have started tying up with IIB data. Okay, whenever you are issuing a policy, you don't get claim because you give a declaration that you get an NCB of 35%, 45%. Now you can get that data information from the IIB itself. Okay. The insurance company has to get whatever they want to get at the time of underwriting only. No question should be asked at the time of claims. So that is what the insurance company have started doing from the last 1 or 2 years. If you will see the claim settlement ratio of the insurance companies, maybe in the recent broker association report, I think in most of the companies it is more than 99%. In motor, 98, 99%. Even in health insurance, the insurance company should start doing your tele-MER, video MER at the time of underwriting. So that when the claim comes, there should be no question whether you got hospitalized 3 years before or there was a pre-existing disease. Everything has to be at the time of underwriting only. Then only the perception can change.
And,
Thank you.
and to add to your question, the answer would be education through a easy access method. So there are insurers that we speak to, and now that I've come out of Tata AIG and now in the open market, right? So I meet a lot of people. People are using ChatGPT equivalent OpenAI to have customers ask easy questions and get relevant answers, right? So you can basically, I put it like this: know your policy. Whether it is health or motor, know your policy. What is covered, what is not covered, what is exclusion, what is inclusion. It can be simply answered by a chatbot, right? Which is powered by an OpenAI, and you can train that. The technology exists, right? So we have a convergence of WhatsApp, OpenAI, and chatbot, which can address that.
So, but the certain age group, let's say above 40 or 45, they don't know how to use the chat GPT and everything. So
They know
the
WhatsApp.
Gen Z.
They know WhatsApp,
Yeah.
right? They can ask a question in simple English or English in WhatsApp, or in English or any other vernacular mix match.
The local
it's
language.
possible today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.